Chapter 13. A Disastrous Fire. Tizam was suspected of being one of the thieves involved in the stolen spider Sapphire mystery. Nancy and Ned could not help but show surprise. Mr. Tagore looked at them puzzled and asked, "You know these men?" "Not Chotu," Nancy replied, "but we have heard of Tizam. He has a sister who is a singer. She's in America. When she learned we were coming to Africa, she mentioned her brother." "Did she tell you that he was reported to have disappeared?" the Indian asked. Nancy felt that she should reveal no more and merely said, "She mentioned something of the sort. Have you any idea where he is?" "No," said Mr. Tagore. "If I had, I would send the authorities after him." Nancy's mind was in a whirl. What a strange combination of stories there were about Tizam's trek into the jungle. He was reported to have been mauled and killed by a lioness. He was supposed to have been rescued, but disappeared. Now he was being accused of theft and staying in hiding. Nancy said to Mr. Tagore, "I certainly hope that the person or persons who took your spider, Sapphire, will be found." The couple said goodbye and went off. They continued to discuss the strange turn of events, but presently Ned asked, "What's next on our program, Nancy?" "We're all to meet at the swimming pool," Nancy reminded him. "Then I'll see you in a few minutes," Ned said, and hurried off toward his room. By the time Nancy had reached hers, Bess and George were already in their suits. Nancy quickly changed, and the three girls went outside. The day was sunny and very warm. "How beautiful Mount Kenya is!" Bess exclaimed, looking into the distance. "Just think, snow all year round near the equator." Tables with umbrellas were set up around the pool. Gwen, looking extremely attractive, came over with Hal to join the girls. "Water's wonderful," she said. Hal remarked, "Gwen's a real nymph." She blushed, but it was evident she enjoyed the compliment. In a few minutes, Ned, Bert, and Dave joined the group. There was a lively exchange of teasing and witty wisecracks. Presently, Ned said, "Fellows, how about a race to the end of the pool and back?" "Sure thing," Bert responded, and took his place at the edge. Dave swung into position alongside him, Hal next, and Ned fourth. George was elected to call out the start and to be the judge of the winner. She stood behind the boys and said, "Ready, get set, go!" The four swimmers dived in. Each one made a long underwater swim. When he rose to the surface, the racer plowed madly along to the opposite end of the pool, gave a quick push with one foot, and started back. Each of the four girls egged on her particular friend. "Go! Hurry up! Swim, swim!" "Give it to 'em!" George cried out, rooting for Bert, although she was supposed to be an impartial judge. Whether it was her cry of encouragement or because Bert was the best swimmer, no one could say, but he did come in first and was pronounced the winner. As he climbed from the water, shaking his head to get the water off, he said with a grin, "I like Africa. This is the first race I've won in a long time." By now, most of the others in the Emerson Safari had gathered, and soon the pool was full of swimmers. There was some horseplay. Then finally everyone came to sit in the chairs or on towels spread on the ground. One of the boys had brought a transistor radio. When he turned it on, they could hear an American record being played. "That music makes it seem as if we weren't so far away from home," Bess spoke up. Record after record of American-composed songs and dances followed. Presently, a waltz came on. Ned stood up and called, "How about you girls putting on a show? A water ballet?" "Good idea," said Gwen. "Come on, girls." Without time for any rehearsing, the performers were forced to make up their own ballet. From the enthusiastic clapping, they judged it was good. It was evident to the watching boys, however, that Gwen Taylor far outshone the others. She was grace personified in the water, and Hal's remark about her being a nymph was true. As the record ended and the girls pulled themselves up over the side of the pool, the boys clapped loudly. Then Ned said, "We didn't call this a contest and we have no prize, but I'd like to tell you, Gwen, that you're a beautiful dancing swimmer." "Oh, thank you, but I thought everybody else was marvelous," she said. Some in the group who were not yet aware of Gwen's change of attitude looked at her in amazement. Many of them crowded around her, and she knew from this that she was now in. Someone called out, "It's almost lunchtime. Meet you all on the patio." The meal was to be served here. The swimmers arose and walked toward the club. Bess and George, towels around their shoulders, went up the slight incline of the beautiful green lawn and entered the main building. They got the key to their room from the desk clerk. As Nancy unlocked their door, Bess remarked, "Pew! What a horrible odor!" The three girls walked through the short hallway and stepped inside the room. They looked around. Suddenly, all of them gave a gasp of dismay. Heaped in the fireplace were the remains of their burned clothing and suitcases. The girls rushed forward disbelievingly. In a moment, Bess burst into tears. "My lovely dresses!" she wailed. George's face turned red with anger. She went to the closet and opened it. Every dress was gone. "This is an outrage!" she stormed. Nancy was grim. For several moments she said nothing. What vandal had been in here and done such a sadistic thing? Our enemies, she decided. Turning on her heel, Nancy went out the door and hurried to the manager's office. She told him what had happened and asked him to come and see the damage. Upon looking at the still smoldering fire, he stood still in amazement. Then he turned to the girls. "Why would anyone do such a thing? I'll get the room boy at once and see if he knows anything about this." He telephoned to the employees' quarters, and in minutes the room boy arrived. "Roscoe, do you know anything about this?" he asked. When the boy saw the mess in the fireplace, he stared at it blankly and denied any knowledge of the vandalism. Roscoe said he had brought in more wood, tidied up the room, then gone out and locked the door. "Someone must have come in through the open window," Nancy said to the manager. He excused the room boy, who went off. "I'm sure Roscoe is honest," he said. "And anyway, what would he have to gain by burning your belongings?" The girls agreed. Finally, Nancy told the manager that she was trying to solve a mystery here in Africa. "I think that certain people who don't want me to learn the facts perpetrated this outrage." The thought went through her mind. Could it possibly have been Mr. Tagore? It seemed unlikely, yet from the beginning she had wondered if he might be involved in the theft. The manager offered to send someone to town immediately to purchase clothes for the girls. "Thank you," said Nancy, "but I think we can borrow enough from our friends to last us until we get to Nairobi." Bess spoke up. "Let's ask Gwen first. She has lots of clothes." The manager and Bess left together. She returned in a few minutes, saying that Gwen was delighted and would herself take charge of asking for donations from the other girls. Within 15 minutes, she knocked on their door and came in with her arms loaded. Behind her were two other girls, one of them carrying a suitcase which contained underwear and shoes. "Oh my goodness," said George. "I couldn't wear all those clothes in a week." "This is like Christmas," Bess added. She had spotted a frilly white dress and said, "Nancy and George, do you mind if I take this one?" "No," Nancy replied. "It looks just like you." The various articles of clothing were distributed. As the three from River Heights gazed at themselves in the mirror a few minutes later, George grinned and said, "Who am I?" Gwen giggled. "I think you're Dot Bird. Nancy, you look lovely in the light blue linen that used to be mine." By the time the River Heights girls reached the patio, the story of the fire in their room had spread among other guests. Mr. Tagore left his table and came over to speak to Nancy. She introduced her friends. "I am sorry to hear about your loss," he said. "Only someone with a criminal mind could have done such a thing. I regret that Africa has treated you so badly." "It was a great loss indeed," Nancy answered. "But our friends kindly shared their clothes with us." Mr. Tagore asked whether the three girls had also lost the jewelry they had brought. "Yes, we did," Bess replied. "It was in the suitcases, and the fire ruined everything." "Perhaps," Mr. Tagore suggested, "the jewelry was not burned, but stolen." Nancy had not thought of this possibility and agreed that it could be true. Mr. Tagore had evidently finished his lunch because he said goodbye and went into the hotel. Nancy and her friends found 2 tables under a flame tree overlooking the large grassy area, which was surrounded by other small tree-shaded tables. To one side were spits on which turkeys, squabs, and pigs were roasting. In front of these stood long tables loaded with a variety of food, including tropical fruits. Smiling chefs were in attendance to help serve the buffet. Bess was ecstatic and started to heap her plate. One dark glance from George, and she put back a luscious-looking pork chop. Halfway through the meal, Ned said, "Here come the dancers." Members of the Choku tribe, all men, appeared from a rear garden. Their gay costumes included short, fringed skirts, large, shaggy headdresses, and anklets. They carried bongo drums between their knees and moved in a circle as they played and danced. Each motion was part of a story. At times, the men swung the drums under one arm. Every so often, they would squat. "The rhythm is great," said Dave, "and the dance is not very different from some of ours. Now at our next fraternity dance, maybe I'll get a costume, a bongo drum, and—" "Dave Evans," said Bess, "if you dare showing up in a brief costume like these men are wearing, I won't let on I know you." An hour later, the group left the patio. The plan was to take a hike and later go swimming. Nancy, Bess, and George decided to change their clothes and went to the desk for their room key. The clerk handed each girl a gift-wrapped package. Smiling, he said, "These are with Mr. Tagore's compliments." End of chapter 13.